One warm afternoon in the outskirts of Nashville, Taylor Swift made an unplanned stop that would change someone's life forever. This wasn't just another fleeting celebrity encounter. It was the beginning of a heartwarming and deeply emotional story that no one could have predicted. In a quiet suburban neighborhood just outside of Nashville, 14-year-old Sophie spent most of her days dreaming of music and simpler times. To those who saw her walking through the local park or running errands with her dad, she seemed like an ordinary teenager. But behind her quiet demeanor was a story of resilience and unspoken grief. Sophie lived with her dad, Michael, in a modest two-bedroom home. Her dad worked tirelessly as a mechanic, often pulling double shifts to provide for them. After Sophie's mom passed away 3 years ago, her mom had been her anchor, her best friend, and the person who introduced her to music. And not just any music, Taylor Swift's music. For Sophie, Taylor's songs weren't just catchy melodies, they were a lifeline. Her mom would sing along to The Best Day while baking cookies or tidying up the house. When Sophie felt overwhelmed, she'd listen to Daylight and imagine her mom's voice reminding her to stay strong. Taylor's music became a bridge to those memories, offering comfort and hope when everything else felt uncertain. Sophie had never been to a Taylor Swift concert, despite being a die-hard fan. Tickets were simply out of reach for her family. But for her 14th birthday, her dad had saved up for months to buy her an official concert T-shirt from Taylor's latest tour. That shirt became Sophie's most treasured possession. She wore it every chance she got, pairing it with her favorite jeans or even over her pajamas. It wasn't just a shirt, it was a piece of a dream she held onto tightly. The shirt symbolized her bond with her mom and her admiration for Taylor, whose lyrics felt like they spoke directly to her heart. "One day I'll see her," Sophie often whispered to herself, even if it's just from afar. It was a quiet, personal dream she clung to, even though she knew it might never come true. Life wasn't particularly kind to Sophie. At school, she was the quiet girl in the back row who rarely raised her hand. Her classmates didn't understand her love for music or her constant wear of the same faded concert T-shirt. Sometimes they whispered about her, making remarks that stung more than she let on. But Sophie didn't care. She carried her earbuds everywhere, always ready to escape into Taylor's music when the world felt too harsh. When her dad worked late, she'd help out at the garage, sweeping the floor and organizing tools while humming along to "You Belong With Me." Her routine was simple, but her dreams were vivid. Sophie spent her evenings imagining what it would feel like to stand in a stadium filled with thousands of fans, the air electric with anticipation as Taylor took the stage. In her mind, she could hear the roar of the crowd and feel the bass thrum through her chest. It wasn't about selfies or autographs. It was about being part of something bigger, something that reminded her she wasn't alone. Her dad often watched her from the doorway, noticing the faraway look in her eyes as she sang along softly to her favorite songs. He knew how much she wanted to see Taylor in person, but the reality of their financial situation weighed heavily on him. Michael was a proud man who rarely showed his emotions, but there were nights when he'd sit at the kitchen table long after Sophie had gone to bed, silently wishing he could do more for her. One Saturday afternoon, Sophie decided to walk to the nearby market to pick up some groceries for dinner. Her dad had given her a small list, and she carried a reusable bag slung over her shoulder. She wore her cherished Taylor Swift concert shirt, the sun warming her back as she hummed to herself. It was a quiet day, the kind that usually passed without incident. As Sophie walked, she thought about the upcoming weekend. Her friends were planning a trip to the city mall, but Sophie had declined the invitation. She didn't want to burden her dad with extra expenses, even for something as simple as a movie ticket. Instead, she planned to spend her Saturday afternoon listening to music and sketching in her notebook, an old hobby she'd picked up again recently. The market was only a few blocks away, and Sophie enjoyed the walk. The trees lining the street swayed gently in the breeze, their leaves casting playful shadows on the pavement. As she turned onto Main Street, a sleek black car slowed to a stop beside her. At first, Sophie didn't notice. She was too lost in her thoughts. But then she heard a voice call out, "Hey, nice shirt!" She turned, puzzled, and found herself staring at the driver's window. Her heart skipped a beat. Sitting behind the wheel was Taylor Swift herself, wearing sunglasses and a kind smile. Sophie froze, unsure if she was imagining things. But it was real. Taylor Swift was right there, her unmistakable voice breaking the silence again. "That's one of my favorite designs from the tour," Taylor said warmly. Taylor parked the car and stepped out, walking towards Sophie with a casual yet genuine demeanor. "What's your name?" she asked, tilting her head slightly. "Sophie," she stammered, still in disbelief. Taylor knelt slightly to meet Sophie's eyes. "Sophie, it's so nice to meet you. Tell me, what's your favorite song?" After a moment of hesitation, Sophie found her voice. "The Best Day," she said softly. "It was my mom's favorite. She used to sing it to me." Taylor's smile softened. "Your mom had great taste in music," she said. "She sounds like an amazing person." Sophie shared her story about her mom, how they bonded over Taylor's music, and how the concert shirt was the closest she'd ever come to experiencing a live show. Taylor listened intently, her expression shifting to one of deep compassion. "Your mom would be so proud of you," Taylor said softly, placing a reassuring hand on Sophie's shoulder. "You're stronger than you realize." Then Taylor walked back to her car and returned with something in her hands. It was a signed tour jacket, glittering under the afternoon sun. "This is for you," she said, holding it out. "You've been through so much, and I hope this reminds you to keep going." Sophie clutched the jacket, tears streaming down her face. She couldn't believe what was happening. Taylor hugged her gently and said, "You're amazing, Sophie. Don't ever forget that." Before leaving, Taylor handed Sophie a handwritten note. It read, "To Sophie, keep shining. You're stronger than you know. Lots of love, Taylor." That evening, Sophie hung the jacket and the note in her room, where they became daily reminders of the incredible moment. She didn't tell many people about what had happened, choosing to keep the memory close to her heart. The encounter left Sophie feeling a renewed sense of hope. For the first time in a long time, she felt seen and valued. Taylor's kindness had shown her that even in life's darkest moments, light could break through in the most unexpected ways. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe for more heartwarming tales that celebrate the power of kindness and connection. Your support helps us share these stories with the world.